I am very excited to introduce our keynote speaker today. You may remember Sim Gill. He was the Salt Lake City District Attorney for quite a while, or City Attorney. And we all got to know Sim during that time because he was a hard-working Democrat. He went out and worked for Democratic product, for people. And let me tell you, when I say that, that's all people, because the Democratic Party is the party that represents the majority of Utahns here in this state. Justice is deserved by all residents, all citizens of this country, and that's the kind of person Sim Gill is. Well, he ran a first race for the Salt Lake County District Attorney, and you know what? It was a tough race. Laura Miller was elected that year, but if Sim Gill didn't give up, he knew two things. He knew he was the best person for the job, and he also knew that give people time, there would be buyer's remorse. Well, the buyer's remorse came. Sim came back, and it was neat to see when he was nominated that people who had stood with Laura Miller were there to nominate Sim. I know that Sim has a wonderful relationship with our county attorney here, Troy Rawlings. I know that Sim has a wonderful relationship with Democrats and Republicans and independents all around the state. And I'll tell you this, from the day one that he put his name in the hat to run for that race, I know I was with him. I believe you were with him. You couldn't vote for him, but I know you believe in him. And it is a great honor to have the greatest success story of our 2010, a tough year, our greatest success story, Sim Gill, District Attorney of Salt Lake County.
Can you all hear me? Okay, good. Good morning, Davis County Democrats. Welcome. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of your convention today. I want to thank Brett Garner, your new incoming chair. And also, I'm proud to be here in a tradition, with traditions such as J. Del Holbrook, Jamie Nagel from here. And of course, we forget Cal Rampton as a Davis County Dem. So I think we have a proud tradition here. And I want to thank Rob Miller and the Davis County Democratic Party for inviting me to come and be a part of your convention and share some remarks with you. It's so good to see so many people here on Saturday. And it's a beautiful day out there. You could be out there doing something else, but you're taking the time to be here. And it speaks very highly of the commitment that is necessary for us to be successful and for you to get involved. And as Rob mentioned, I suspect I was asked here today, as some of you may know, that I defeated a Republican opponent in my Salt Lake County District Attorney's election. And in fact, if I believe our state party chair, Wayne Holland, I may have been the only Democrat to beat an incumbent in the last year election. However, you may not have known that in doing so, Democrats in Utah and Salt Lake County, Democrats in particular, when they helped me get elected, made some history. They elected me as the first Indian-born district attorney in the history of the United States of America. Who would have thought it's possible? So you see, Utah Democrats are breaking new ground every day. When I won, I was asked, why did we win in a year that Democrats were not supposed to? And I believe now, and I believe then, that the difference was and continues to be hard work, persistence, a passion, commitment, and a willingness to share our ideals, especially from those across party lines who we would not think about sharing those ideals with, because we would not think that they would be supported. I think that made a difference. Because as Democrats, A good idea is a good idea, and we share it with anyone across party lines because nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. What I mean is that you cannot let conventional wisdom define you. You must be willing to step out of your comfort zone and not accept the status quo. For example, conventional wisdom always says, play to your strength. And this is good, sound advice. But the game is not won by always staying on your side of the fence, but by going across where you are not expected to be. In my race, conventional wisdom was and has been that Democrats play to the east side of Salt Lake County because that's where all the Democrats are. And the Republicans are on the west and southwest. And then we sort of fight in the middle, and if we can tease some votes away, maybe you are successful. And I remember talking to my campaign manager, and I was telling her, you know, we've got to buck the conventional wisdom. And I told her, and I asked her, what is the most conservative place in Salt Lake County? And she was kind of shy. She's like, are you serious? And I go, absolutely. She was frustrated because she said, I'm going to waste my resources there. So she said, okay, Lovedale, Utah. And we said, okay. I go call the mayor from Lovedale, Utah, and we're going to go out there, and I want to meet with them. And she said, no, you're going to waste your time because, you know, we were lucky, we got 50 votes out of Lovedale, Utah last time. So we went out there, I met with the mayor, and I asked him, I go, do you believe in good government? Because I do. And when I'm running for a county race, these who are your constituents that you care about, they're my constituents as well. I care about them as well. If a crime occurs in your community and we need to go support that family, we need to give them comfort. We can either do it in our private silos, or if we are committed to a good and sound government and serving our community, we should do it together. Those are the conversations that we have. And about 40 minutes into my conversation, he stopped me and he said, you know what, Sam? I want to thank you for coming out here and talking to me, because no Democrats come out here. I want to thank you for taking the time and not taking my community for granted. And he became the first sitting Republican mayor to endorse my campaign for Salt Lake County District Attorney. That conversation to multiple other Republican mayors and independents and Democrats. And they joined, and my campaign had multiple Republican mayors who came out and publicly endorsed my campaign because we were willing to talk and converse. And that is why we need to buck conventional wisdom. What I mean by here is that what we learned from this is that our biggest obstacles were not those that opposed us, but the ones that we created ourselves, by letting our own fear limit what we thought we could accomplish. Good government is not anyone's monopoly, but the responsibility of every citizen. And I was not willing to abdicate my principle to silence my convictions. I did, however, need to change the belief in conventional wisdom. We must not be satisfied with merely the sermon in the church, but we must be willing to take the message out into the field. You do not win races by running faster downhill, but by running faster uphill when everyone expects you to slow down. Adversity defines and gives us character. We should not fear it, but we should rise to this challenge. I know that it's hard to stay motivated, to stay committed, to stay passionate when success evades you. As Rob mentioned, we lost in 2006, but we believed in our message. We had passionate support. And we said that we will fight another day when we came back, and we were successful. And sometimes that is the kind of commitment that is needed when success evades you. Success sometimes is not apparent, nor immediately given. Success sometimes is more subtle, more elusive, and it requires being able to survive, endure, and to carry the flame. Let me give you an example. that I like. You will remember in human history, there was a time in ancient Greece when we had incredible flourishing of art, literature, philosophy, science. And then we entered the Dark Ages. And I can envision there is in some cell in a monastery, in a cold, dark, dank cell, some monk sitting and copying from Greek into Latin some obscure text of Plato and Cicero and Homer. And his hands are cramped. He's working by candlelight. And he has every right to ask, and I'm sure some of them did, why am I doing this? For what purpose? Has the abbot gone mad that he would have me copy this when 90% of the people in our community are illiterate and can't read? Who am I doing this for? Well, he did it for us. We are the inheritors and the recipients of that hard work and sacrifice. Our culture, our values, our ideals are the result of this gift of sacrifice. So we, you, are the core of that committed sacrifice, because what we do for our children, we do it for our grandchildren, we do it for people who are yet not born, because we believe in these ideals. We fight and we struggle and we pass on our ideals to the next generation. This is what democracy requires. It requires our commitment, our vigilance, our passion. This requires that if our ideals have any value, we cannot simply stop advocating for them when times get hard, or when victory requires sacrifice. Our future depends on it. Now, I love this country. I am the son of an immigrant who came here in 1969. He came here for the same reasons that many of you come here today. He came here like you because he believed in opportunity for educational access, for economic possibility for his children and his family. He came here to live in a just and free society. He came here for the social, political, and economic freedoms that are promised in our country. And he believed that every person had a right to achieve it and pursue it. He was led here by America's ideals. The ideals of justice, fairness, equality, truth, liberty, where hope is not a dream, but a possibility for all. These ideals are our values. They are democratic values. There are conversations and policies we pursue not for one person, but for all. These ideals speak of the promise of American democracy. The promise of American democracy is that it does not matter who you are, what race or gender, what status, education, or lineage, what religion or group. It does not matter that if you voted for me, that I won and you lost. The promise of American democracy is that even if you did not support me, you are still part of my political concern. This is the unique feature of our democracy, of our promise to our citizens. That is, our political concern extends to those who have power, not just those who have power, but those who do not. Equality before the law, fairness, access to power are not the privileges of a select few, nor are they merely empty words. Everybody understood this. Everybody played by the rules. However, recently, this ideal has come under attack. Power, privilege, wealth have become poor substitutes for justice, fairness, and equality. Power that only perpetuates itself without purpose. Privilege that only excludes political access or economic opportunity. Wealth that only isolates and alienates our communities. They all introduce a new age of cynicism, alienation, and exclusion. They rely on your silence. They rely on our silence. They expect you and me to accept a new paradigm of America. This is not my America. This is not the America that my father emigrated to. Conversations like today are important, so we as members of our community and policymakers can continue to work on and refine our commitments to economic, political, and legal justice. If we are to be a leader in freedom, opportunity, and justice, then it is important that we recognize that our ideals must be defensible without being political recriminations or inaction. How we address the needs of all our citizens, including those who are the most vulnerable, says much about the ideals we have and those that we get to claim. In other words, can we walk the walk as well as talk the talk? Are our actions consistent with the rhetoric of our ideals? Are we diligently faithful or simply faithless? If we are truly concerned about our community, our society, especially those who reside in the great margins of indigency, poverty, homelessness, if we are truly concerned about the struggles of hardworking families who do not expect to become millionaires, but to be able to work, live in a decent home, and send their children to school. If we are truly concerned about citizens who care about our environment, families that want to believe that though they may have to struggle, their children can look to the future with hope. That those individuals, after a lifetime of service, can retire in old age without fear or isolation. If these are our concerns, then our conversations must address access to housing and shelter, a healthy environment, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, access to education, vocational, and job trainings, access to medical care, access to economic opportunity. We must address issues of personal integrity, where everyone has access to fairness, due process of law, and the protection of our civil liberties and freedom from oppression and coercion. If we want to achieve this, we must act, engage, and commit. Thus, this means that all of us have a responsibility and obligation to become involved. We cannot be silent witnesses to history, nor be silent to the needs and concerns of fellow citizens. We must all do our part. We must act, engage, and commit. We must make a commitment to do two things. First, vote. Second, use the power of our voice to call family and friends to do their part to get them to vote. This requires all of us to work. No regrets, should haves, could have moments to lament. You must act, engage, and commit. Slowly the time comes and the moment comes together. The work, the effort, and passion are focused towards realizing the possibilities of change. You reflect on how generous and giving so many people in our community can be, and that no person is truly alone. With one voice, we begin a conversation. With two voices, we exchange ideas. With three voices, we build consensus and change. So you must act, commit, and vote. I sit and I'm reminded of a poem by Walt Whitman. He says, I sit and look out upon all the sorrows of the world, upon all oppression and shame. I observe the slights and degradations cast by arrogant persons upon laborers, the poor, and the like. All these, all the meanness and agony without end, I sitting, look out upon, see, hear, and am silent. So you must act, engage, and commit. There is a saying that if you want to change the world, then change yourself. What are you willing to do for a fair and just community? Will you lend your voice? Will you lend your time? Can you spare your heart and soul? What are you willing to risk? What chance is worth taking? These are the questions we must ask and answer in our home. So you must act, engage, and commit. The greatest political sin is the sin of learned helplessness. When you accept the conclusion that your political participation does not matter, the result is a slow atrophy of your political will, a wasting away of your political soul. Salvation is the ability to really assert your political voice. So you must act, engage, and commit. We build a wall of marginalization, one brick at a time by our sides. The road to isolation requires a conspiracy of two. Those who would exploit and those who would accept it by their own indifference, silence, and apathy. Act up, voice up, wake up. You must act, engage. What I have been talking to you about is not anything new. This is something that is possible in all of us. This is something that we are all capable of. This is something that you have done before, that you must do once again. It is my privilege to be a Democrat. It is my privilege to be here in front of you. And it is my privilege to tell you that the power to succeed, the ability to change, the ability to lead and make a difference in our community is absolutely within your grasp. If you will simply act, engage, and commit. Thank you.
You know, I asked Cynthia to come here because I wanted you all to hear his message. Because there's one person in particular I want you to hear that message. Chris Williams. Chris, you can do it. Run again.